All right, everybody. Welcome to Dagon. This is a H.P. Lovecraft inspired story. Well, it's probably, I think it's straight like a story from H.P. Lovecraft. There's a few DLC options. I'm just playing the free version. It's called Dagon. So let's start it up. Let's see what's going on. Start. Dagon is a faithful, interactive adaptation of H.P. Lovecraft's work focused on story and atmosphere. You will not find difficult choices, action sequences, or inventory management here, and movement is limited to progressing through locations along with the plot.
I am writing this under an appreciable mental strain, since by tonight I shall be no more.
Oh. Is that true? During the game, you will encounter interactive elements. Some of them will allow you to continue your journey. Others reveal interesting facts about the original short story, his historical background, and the author. Some of the trivia is hidden. In order to find the secrets, focus your eyes and look for the Elder sign. Sorry, my Garbo is down here. Okay, focus.
Penniless, and at the end of my supply of the drug which alone makes life endurable, I can bear the torture no longer.
Hello,
and shall
Garbo.
cast myself
Oh,
from this garret window
there she goes.
into the squalid street below.
So I don't
Do not
know.
think from my slavery to morphine that I am a weakling or a degenerate. When you have read these hastily scrawled pages, you may guess, though never fully realize, why it is that I must have forgetfulness or death.
I'm not entirely sure if this is an actual game or not. Judging by the description at the very beginning, I'm not sure if we're really going to be doing anything. So, morphine. Morphine entered use in the 19th century and was routinely administered to treat severe pain during the American Civil War, circa 1861 to 1865, and World War I, 1914 through 1918. It was also sold without restriction until 1914. Morphine became more popular after the invention of the hypodermic syringe around 1854. Frederick Sertrin, who first isolated the substance, originally named it morphinium after Morpheus, the Greek god associated with dreams. At the time when Dagon was published, morphine abuse, known as soldier's disease, already posed a big problem in the United States. You can read the discovered trivia immediately, or go back to them later in the main menu. Turn off displayed trivia if you find that the feature distracts you from the story. This can be changed at any time. We'll show it. That's fine.
It was in one of the most open and least frequented parts of the broad Pacific that the packet of which I was supercargo fell a victim to the Germans.
Supercargo. Oh, okay. So we're not going to move at all here. This is just, once I'm done with the scene, I can click forward. Oh, wait, no, here we go. No, never mind. I don't know if this is really a game.
The Great War was then at its very beginning, and the ocean forces of the Hun had not completely sunk to their later degradation.
Also, this game is meant, so it has an option for VR, which makes me feel like it was kind of like made with the intention of VR.
So that our vessel was
in
made
mind.
a legitimate prize, whilst we of her crew were treated with all the fairness and consideration due us as naval prisoners.
But this will give us a, we'll the Huns. The Huns were Central Asia's nomads who established a dominion in Europe and invaded the Roman Empire in the 5th century AD. They were known as brutal, deadly warriors and masters of quick raids who also developed powerful composite bows, lassos, and early siege weapons. During World War I, the British used the word Hun as a synonym for Germans in order to emphasize their brutality. However, the term originated when the Greek Emperor Wilhelm II gave a speech to his troops on the 27th of July 1900 before they embarked to China. Should you encounter the enemy, he will be defeated. No quarter will be given. Prisoners will not be taken. Whoever falls into your hands is forfeited. Just as a thousand years ago, the Huns under their king Attila made a name for themselves, one that even today makes them seem mighty in history and legend. May the name German be affirmed by you in such a way in China that no Chinese will ever again dare to look cross-eyed at a German. The refusal to take prisoners was a clear breach of the laws and customs of the war adopted during the first Hague Convention. Is this like before the Geneva Convention of 1899? Okay. So it just gives us a little backstory, or a little bit of.
So liberal, indeed, was the discipline of our captors that 5 days after we were taken, I managed to escape alone in a small boat with water and provisions for a good length of time.
What's the word I'm looking for? It gives us a little bit of not perspective. I can't think of the word right now. But Dagon, I don't remember much of Dagon. I feel like I know what's about to happen.
When I finally found myself adrift and free,
yeah, I know this one.
Idea of my surroundings. Never a competent navigator, I could only guess vaguely by the sun and stars that I was somewhat south of the equator. Of the longitude, I knew nothing, and no island or coastline was in sight.
Yeah, this is actually the first story of H.P. Lovecraft's anthology of eldritch horror.
The weather kept fair, and for uncounted days I drifted aimlessly beneath the scorching sun, waiting either for some passing ship or to be cast on the shores of some habitable land.
I wish. I really feel like there should be more to do here.
But neither ship nor land appeared, and I began to despair in my solitude.
Oh, I'm just staring at the sun now.
Vastness of unbroken blue. The change happened whilst I slept.
Oh, this is the big motif in every story. There's always some kind of turning point that everything just kind of goes sideways.
Its details I shall never know. For my slumber, though troubled and dream-infested, was continuous.
What the fuck is that? But yeah, this is Dagon for you. So I can zoom in, but there's only ever one thing to interact with. I feel like, if you're gonna make a game that's chronicling Dagon, I mean, I know there's not a whole lot going on in Dagon. It's a pretty short story, all things considered. But I don't know, add some details about the tentacles. You know what I mean? I don't know.
When at last I awoke, it was to discover myself half sucked into a slimy expanse of hellish black mire, which extended about me in monotonous undulations as far as I could see.
Well, I guess that's the description I was looking for, but...
And in which my boat lay grounded some distance away. Though one might well imagine that my first sensation would be of wonder at so prodigious and unexpected a transformation of scenery, I was in reality more horrified than astonished.
Hmm. Some of you might recognize Dagon as one of the Daedric princes from Skyrim. Dagon was inspired, obviously, by H.P. Lovecraft. That whole character and everything, because Dagon has, like, is a big giant tentacle monster with just an eye in the middle of it. So
For there was in the air
context. That's the word I was looking
a
for.
sinister quality which chilled me to the very core. The region was putrid with the carcasses of decaying fish and of other, less describable things which I saw protruding from the nasty mud of the unending plain. Perhaps I should not hope to convey in mere words the unutterable hideousness that can dwell in absolute silence and barren immensity.
Yeah. For those of you who don't know, I mean, it's kind of hard not to know nowadays, but H.P. Lovecraft is like known to be a recluse, racist, bigoted, germaphobe that was also an agoraphobe. So, a lot of the descriptions come from like his own fears, anxieties, and viewpoints from the world. He was just a very, very awful man. But from that came very like acclaimed writing. Not all of them are great, but he is basically credited for creating this whole cosmic horror, eldritch entities type thing, because this is how he saw the world. Like, obviously this is just a fucking squid, obviously that's just a fucking an anomalocaris, or not an anomalocaris, but oh God, I forget what they're fucking called. But these are normal things in the world that he interpreted differently through his own view, like his own psyche.
Sight, save a vast reach of black slime. Yet the very completeness of the stillness and the homogeneity of the landscape oppressed me with a nauseating fear.
This is a man that everywhere he looked, he saw disgust and vitriol and
the sun
fear,
was blazing down from a sky which seemed to me almost black in its cloudless cruelty, as though reflecting the inky marsh beneath my feet.
But he just had such a way with words, but that just kind of really capitalizes on how much he felt this, because he was able to throw so much, I don't want to call it passion. It feels like the antithesis to passion. But it's just as impactful as passion. Yeah. All right, so we can kind of just look at things. All in all, I mean, this is basically what I was imagining whenever I was reading the short story. So, yeah.
As I crawled into the stranded boat, I realized that only one theory could explain my position.
I've died and gone to heaven.
Through some unprecedented volcanic upheaval, a portion of the ocean floor must have been thrown to the surface, exposing regions for which innumerable millions of years had lain hidden under unfathomable watery depths.
Yeah, but you throw a stone any direction in literature, you're gonna find H.P. Lovecraft's influence, whether it's Junji Ito, whether it's From Software's Bloodborne, it's just everywhere, and we even have it in Call of Cthulhu. That's a whole that's a whole story. And then like there have been so many iterations done, because there's like board games, there's video games, there's a TV series. You know what I mean? Like that, and it just it speaks to some kind of like cardinal fear that we have in the unknown. Like he was just so good at like describing the fear of the unknown, not like describing the unknown. Because at some point you get to you get to the cosmic god Cthulhu, and then like all the other upper elder gods, and like there's never really a good description of them. Like it's always to look upon them would to, you know, cause mania, that kind of thing. Incomprehensible horror.
So great was the extent of the new land which had risen beneath me that I could not detect the faintest noise of the surging ocean, straining my ears as I might.
Yeah, yeah.
Nor were there any seafowl to prey upon the dead things.
I wish there were more things to interact with. Like, I really wish that, like, these little snippets had been, like, quadrants on the map. Kind of like how in Ghost of Tsushima, whenever you're doing the haikus, you kind of, like, look around, and then, like, this little circles become available. Like, if I looked up at the sky, then it would be like, oh, I don't see any seafowl, or hear, you know, the squawks of seafowl. And then if you know, look off into the vastness, then it's talking about how how far it outstretches. And then like you could say the dead fish. You know what I mean? Like I feel like there could have been a little bit more interaction here.
For several hours I sat thinking or brooding in the boat, which lay upon its side and afforded a slight shade as the sun moved across the heavens. As the day progressed, the ground lost some of its stickiness and seemed likely to dry sufficiently for traveling purposes in a short time. That night I slept but little, and the next day I made for myself a pack containing food and water, preparatory to an overland journey in search of the vanished sea.
I'm surprised that he still has like rations. What are we doing here? Oh, it's just this. Yeah, like, I mean, I get that it's, like, supposed to be bare bones and whatnot. But, like, even if this was, like, a VR experience, I feel like limiting my vision halfway, like, I can't turn around all the way. I don't know. To be fair, this is, like, I would say, like, the most faithful recreation of this that there could be. Because in the short story, this is what he's talking about. Like, this is all that there is. It's a pretty short story, though. It takes, you know, like, maybe 10, 15, 20 minutes to read.
On the third morning, I found the soil dry enough to walk upon with ease.
Third morning?
The odor of the fish was maddening, but I was too much concerned with graver things to mind so slight an evil, and set out boldly for an unknown goal.
Yeah, I mean, like, after a couple days of this just, like, not changing, what are you supposed to do? You know, you're bored. Let's go fucking do something. You know, I'm, like, how did he...
All day I forged steadily westward, guided by a faraway hummock which rose higher than any other elevation on the rolling desert.
See, now we're starting to get things that, like, do not look like things in our world. The farther out from the onset that he gets, he finds weirder and creepier things that look foreign. That's another thing. He was a Zionist, nationalist, like, fucking... He hated anybody that wasn't white and German. You know what I mean? Was he German? You know that I don't quote me on that. I'm not sure anymore. I might put a little thing at the bottom of the screen here just to fact check myself. Now that's a whale, we know that. But this thing, what the hell is this? This is like a spider, but it's like, it's really big. Also, just a little bit of a plug, not for myself, but for the Magnus Archive. If this is stuff that like you're into and you like narratively driven stories that, you know, it's a podcast, but it's a narratively driven story. It's got characters and themes and all sorts of stuff, but that's also heavily inspired by H.P. Lovecraft. The whole idea of entities outside of our realm that are incomprehensible.
And on the following day still travelled toward the hummock, though that object seemed scarcely nearer than when I had first espied it.
Oh yeah, we got a mountain here. And these are I mean, that fucking thing in the left over there, that's huge. If it's that far out and it's that big still, that thing's massive. This is, you know, this is all kind of like squid-esque, I think. Maybe worm or eel. Ooh, hey, we found something. The Horrors of the Ocean. The creator of the Cthulhu Mythos and the fictional underworld city of Rael was convinced that life could not exist at the bottom of the ocean because the water pressure would make it uninhabitable. Today we know that the darkest depths of the ocean are home to many peculiar organisms. The deepest dwelling fish we have discovered so far, the Mariana snailfish, can live about 8,000 meters, more than 26,000 feet below the ocean surface in never-ending darkness and at hellishly crushing pressures, hundreds of times stronger than those found at sea level. Upon glancing at the modern photo of deep-sea creatures such as the anglerfish, the fangtooth, or the viperfish, and their truly Lovecraftian characteristics, it's hard not to find some irony in this. Yeah, totally. I get this a lot because there would be no way for him knowing what like an anglerfish looks like, or the what is it called, the Mariana snailfish, but like the way that those things look is exactly like what he was kind of like describing. So it's interesting. It's interesting for him to like have had this understanding about sea life without really knowing about it. I wonder if there were more of those that we just missed. I swear I've been looking everywhere.
By the fourth evening, I attained the base of the mound, which turned out to be much higher than it had appeared from a distance. An intervening valley setting it out in sharper relief from the general surface. Too weary to ascend, I slept in the shadow of the hill.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever been that tired to where I can just like lay on like this kind of ground and then be able to sleep.
I know not why my dreams were so wild that night.
Really? You don't know why? Maybe because you're hungry, you're fucking dying of dehydration, and you're in like the shadow of a giant hell mountain.
But ere the waning and fantastically gibbous moon had risen far above the eastern plain.
Gibbous.
I was awake in cold perspiration.
The moon.
Determined to sleep no more.
Ow!
Such visions as I had experienced were too much for me to endure again. And in the glow of the moon I saw how unwise I had been to travel by day. Without the glare of the parching sun, my journey would have cost me less energy. Indeed, I now felt quite able to perform the ascent which had deterred me at sunset.
That's fair.
Picking up my pack, I started for the crest of the eminence.
So there's the pack. Yeah. I don't see anything.
I have said that the unbroken monotony of the rolling plain was a source of vague horror to me. But I think my horror was greater when I gained the summit of the mound and looked down the other side into an immeasurable pit or canyon, whose black recesses the moon had not yet soared high enough to illumine. I felt myself on the edge of the world, peering over the rim into a fathomless chaos of eternal night.
Yeah, like there's lines about, you know, characters staring into the abyss and the abyss stares back. Like that kind of like stems from H.P. Lovecraft's writings.
Through my terror ran curious reminiscences of Paradise Lost.
Ooh, well, we're clipping through the...
And of Satan's hideous climb through the unfashioned realms of darkness.
Mm-hmm.
As the moon climbed higher in the sky, I began to see that the slopes of the valley were not quite so perpendicular as I had imagined.
Not so quite perpendicular as I imagined. Those rocks over there look weird. Oh well.
Ledges
Onward!
And outcroppings of rock afforded fairly easy footholds for a descent.
God, this is weird looking.
Whilst after a drop of only a few hundred feet, the declivity became very gradual.
Yep. Let's jump. Go ahead and jump. Jump!
Urged on by an impulse which I cannot definitely analyze, I scrambled with difficulty down the rocks and stood on the gentler slope beneath.
I'm gonna be real with you, I don't remember this.
Gazing into the Stygian deeps,
Stygian
where no light
deeps.
had yet penetrated. All at once, my attention was captured by a vast and singular object on the opposite slope, which rose steeply about 100 yards ahead of me.
Good lighting.
An object that gleamed whitely in the newly bestowed rays of the ascending moon.
Yeah, see, like, I mean, you could put something for the moon, you know? Give us a little bit of context for the moon.
That it was merely a gigantic piece of stone, I soon assured myself.
Sure it is.
But I was conscious of a distinct impression that its contour and position were not altogether the work of nature.
Yeah, it's very brutalist.
A closer scrutiny filled me with sensations I cannot express.
Yeah, this is probably like one of the few downsides to reading H.P. Lovecraft. He's never going to like outwardly admit the sensations or his feelings. You know, like he'll say that it fills him with dread or like fear or immeasurable anxiety, but like he doesn't really go any further than that. So like you never really get a clear description of like what we're looking at. But I mean, whenever we're supposed to be looking at the eldritch, like the actual eldritch entities nuts.
But despite its enormous magnitude and its position in an abyss which had yawned at the bottom of the sea since the world was young, I perceived beyond a doubt that the strange object was a well-shaped monolith, whose massive bulk had known the workmanship and perhaps the worship of living and thinking creatures.
Yeah.
Dazed and frightened, yet not without a certain thrill of the scientist's or archaeologist's delight, I examined my surroundings more closely.
You know, oddly enough, there are stones, rocks, and gemstones that do form in very unnatural looking shapes, as if like they've been chiseled, you know. So like it's not entirely uncommon for some kind of like stone to just like look like this. But back in this time, which I think it's like the 1920s, 1930s, not a whole lot of common knowledge there. So yeah, understandable that he would think that, you know, living creatures made this. Oh, I'm in the water now. Oh wait, no.
Near the zenith,
Okay.
shone weirdly and vividly above the towering steeps that hemmed in the chasm.
Hey, look, a turtle. And a shark. A hammerhead shark. A seahorse. There's all sorts of stuff. Ooh.
And revealed the fact that a far-flung body of water flowed at the bottom, winding out of sight in both directions, and almost lapping my feet as I stood on the slope. Across the chasm, the wavelets washed the base of the
very
Cyclopean
queen.
monolith,
Galileo.
on whose surface I could now trace both inscriptions and crude sculptures.
I mean, crude's like not giving them that much credit. These are pretty good. I can tell what most of this shit is. Besides this. Are those whales? Those gotta be whales. I don't know what this is. But yeah, that's a whale, that's a whale, that's a whale. These gotta be like the elder gods. One of these is Cthulhu, probably this one right here. That looks like an egg. These are mer people. Which those show up in different H.P. Lovecraft.
The writing was in a system of hieroglyphics.
Well, how did I get this close to it?
Unlike anything I'd ever seen in books.
Hey, look, it's Cthulhu. Right in the middle there.
Consisting for the most part of conventionalized aquatic symbols such as fishes, eels, octopi,
Fish or
crustaceans,
fishes.
mollusks,
Both
whales,
are the
and
plural
like.
form of the singular noun fish.
Several characters.
You're very smug
obviously
right now.
represented
Yes, I am.
marine things which are unknown to the modern world, but whose decomposing forms I had observed on the ocean-risen plain. It was the pictorial carving, however, that did most to hold me spellbound.
Spellbound. Ooh. Storytelling methods. Dagon contains many themes and storytelling methods. That Lovecraft developed in his later works, such as telling the story through carvings at the Mountains of Madness, the Nameless City, journals and characters' notes, the Shadow out of Time, the Hunter of the Dark, islands emerging from the ocean, the Call of Cthulhu, or fictional beings and deities based on real events and mythologies. Migo in the Whispering in the Dark. It's also considered the origin of the popular Cthulhu mythos. Some of Lovecraft's other stories also conclude in a manner similar to Dagon, but let's skip the details in order not to spoil the ending. Yeah. Let's keep on going.
Visible across the intervening water, on account of their enormous size, were an array of bas-reliefs whose subjects would have excited the envy of a Doré.
I don't know who a Doré is.
I think that these things were supposed to depict men, at least a certain sort of men, though the creatures were shown disporting like fishes in the waters of some marine grotto.
Yep.
Or paying homage at some monolithic shrine which appeared to be under the waves as well.
I kind of wish I had held off on my descriptions of all of this because I didn't realize that we were gonna just go, bar for bar here.
Of their faces and forms I dare not speak in detail, for the mere remembrance makes me grow faint, grotesque beyond the imagination of a Poe or a Bulwer.
Poe or a bowler? Are we talking about Edgar Allan Poe? I don't know who would bowler be, but is that what he's talking about?
They
Maybe.
were damnably human in general outline, despite webbed hands and feet, shockingly wide and flabby lips, glassy, bulging eyes, and other features less pleasant to recall.
So I guess at this point I should probably say, yeah, we're getting a lot of descriptors here, but mind you, we're not actually looking at the thing. Maybe I'm wrong. But these are just descriptions written on a thing. I mean, I guess in a way they are. I guess I'm wrong.
Curiously enough, they seem to have been chiseled badly out of proportion with their scenic background.
Mm-hmm. Scenic background, huh?
For one of the creatures was shown in the act of killing a whale, represented as but little larger than himself.
Hmm.
I remarked, as I say, their grotesqueness and strange size, but in a moment decided that they were merely the imaginary gods of some primitive fishing or seafaring tribe. Some tribe whose last descendant had perished eras before the first ancestor of the Piltdown or Neanderthal man was born.
It's a good... Yeah, sure. Yeah, it's a good assumption.
Awestruck at this unexpected glimpse into a past beyond the conception of the most daring anthropologist, I stood musing whilst the moon cast queer reflections on the silent channel before me. Then, suddenly, I saw it.
What? What did we see?
With only a slight churning to mark its rise to the surface, the thing slid into view above the dark waters.
Whoa!
Fiend-like and loathsome, it darted like a stupendous monster of nightmares to the monolith, about which it flung its gigantic scaly arms, the while it bowed its hideous head and gave vent to certain measured sounds. I think I went mad then.
Oh, you think, huh?
Of my frantic ascent of the sloping cliff, and of my delirious journey back to the stranded boat, I remember little. I believe I sang a great deal, and laughed oddly when I was unable to sing.
Sorry for me, like, just moving around so erratically. I'm just really trying to figure out if there's, like, other things I could be doing here.
Indistinct recollections of a great storm sometime after I reached the boat.
Ah!
At any rate, I know that I heard pearls of thunder and other tones which nature utters only in her wildest moods. When I came out of the shadows, I was in a San Francisco hospital.
Oh, San Francisco. Never got to go there. I was in San Diego for a while.
By the captain of the American ship which had picked up my boat in mid-ocean. In my delirium, I had said much, but found that my words had been given scant attention.
Understandable. I mean, you were, delirious from dehydration.
Of any land upheaval in the Pacific, my rescuers knew nothing. Nor did I deem it necessary to insist upon a thing which I knew they could not believe.
Here we go. Alright, the journalist. Lovecraft was a prominent figure in the world of amateur journalism. In 1915, he started publishing his own journal called The Conservative, which included political and social commentary, poetry, short stories, and literary criticism written by himself and other authors. Howard was a skilled wordsmith, but he also took criticisms to heart, which resulted in his decision to step away from writing poetry and concentrate on weird fiction again, for the first time since his teenage years. Dagon, published in 1919, is one of the short stories written during that period. In this example, excerpt from The Conservative, the master of horror fiction explains his attitude towards warfare and the idea of world peace. Why any sane human being can believe in the possibility of universal peace is more than the Conservative can fathom. Should the entire civilized world agree simultaneously to disarm, one or more nations would undoubtedly retain secret armaments and at the proper time take advantage of their more altruistic and less astute contemporaries in a wild career of conquest against unarmed victims. No country is or ever can be above warfare until the basic impulses of the human animal shall have miraculously changed. Yeah, it's a pretty bleak outlook on life. He, like I've been saying, he was a very deranged and estranged person in his life.
Once I sought out a celebrated ethnologist and amused him with peculiar questions regarding the ancient Philistine legend of Dagon, the fish god.
Uh-huh. Dagon. Dagon was the main deity of the Philistines, worshipped throughout the Middle East as the ancient god of fertility and crops. In Hebrew, the word Dagon was a common noun for grain. The rulers of Akkad, Mesopotamia, chose him as the patron saint for their war conquests. He also appeared as the judge of the dead in an Alsarian poem and an underworld prison warder in one of the Babylonian texts. He is often mistakenly taken for a fish god due to the wrong interpretation of his name, as in Hebrew the word dag means fish. In H.P. Lovecraft's work, Dagon is an underwater deity ruling over the deep ones, a humanoid race with fish traits that resides in the oceans. He is worshipped by a secret cult called the Esoteric Order of Dagon. Okay. That's some good context right there. I appreciate that. Am I supposed to be looking for something else? What's going on? Can I move? What's going on? Oh, here we go.
But soon
The
this
Necronomicon!
was hopelessly conventional. I did not press my inquiries.
August Derleth and the Cthulhu Mythos. August Derleth was an American writer and anthologist. He also befriended Lovecraft and published many of his works through his company, Arkham House. Ooh, is that like where we get Arkham Asylum for Batman? That's interesting. Although he greatly contributed to the popularization or publication of the author's work, after his death he is surrounded by numerous controversies. One of his most questionable designs involved introducing the good versus evil doctrine. Derleth was a devout Catholic to the Cthulhu Mythos, which contrasted with Lovecraft's view of the world and his approach to cosmic horror. As a result, the author's works are often misunderstood and misrepresented in today's culture. It is also worth noting that Lovecraft was never really interested in creating a mythology, and the term Cthulhu Mythos was coined by Derleth after the author left the mortal plane. Interesting. So his intent was never to kind of like loosely connect all of his work. He just wrote a lot of fucked up shit. And his homeboy was like, hey, we can make money off of this. It's pretty fucked up. But then again, H.P. Lovecraft was kind of an asshole anyway. So, what am I doing over here? Oh, it's green. Why is it green? The scientist. These days, the word scientist is a widely accepted term, but at the time Dagon was published, it was subject to a wide debate. After the author used it in the story, critics pointed out that man of science was a more appropriate term to employ. He admitted in defense of Dagon that if Dagon was to be reprinted and would indeed use the phrase they suggested. Scientist was coined as an analog to artist to be used when referring to those studying different branches of science. Yet in the 19th and early 2000th century, 20th century, scientific researchers in Great Britain and the United States were of the opinion that man of science, resembling the term man of letters, was the only proper choice among other things. It was gender specific, indicating that science was an endeavor to be pursued by only one sex. The term scientist became more accepted only after World War II, and man of science started fading into obscurity as an old-fashioned synonym. Okay. Are there any other things that I gotta look at?
It is
we're back here.
Especially when the moon is gibbous and waning.
Gibbous.
The thing. I tried
The
morphine,
thing.
but the drug has given only transient surcease and has drawn me into its clutches as a hopeless slave.
Yep.
So now I am to end it all, having written a full account for the information or the contemptuous amusement of my fellow men.
Oh man. Oh hey, there's the wallpaper is weird. Interesting. All right, well let's get it over with, I guess.
Often I ask myself if it could not all have been a pure phantasm, a mere freak of fever, as I lay sun-stricken and raving in the open boat after my escape from the German man of war.
More than likely, it's what it was.
This I ask myself, but ever does there come before me a hideously vivid vision in reply. I cannot think of the deep sea without shuddering at the nameless things that may at this very moment be crawling and floundering on its slimy bed, worshipping their ancient stone idols and carving their own detestable likenesses on submarine obelisks of water-soaked granite. I dream of a day when they may rise above the billows to drag down into their reeking talons the remnants of puny, war-exhausted mankind. Of a day when the land shall sink and the dark ocean shall ascend amidst universal pandemonium.
Very nice, very nice. I like it. I like it. Great use of imagery here.
The end is near.
Oh shit.
I hear a noise at the door, as of some immense slippery body lumbering against it.
Just gonna look to see if there's anything else to look at. The sardines. Have I been eating sardines? That's funny. All right, let's do it.
Find me.
What you mean? It looks like it's about to find you, dude.
God, that hand.
Hell yeah. Just grab me by the throat.
The window. The window. Damn, dog. Okay. Cool. Thank you for playing. We hope you enjoyed immersing yourself in our little pool of cosmic horror. We would appreciate it if you took a moment to rate Dagon and check us out. Check out our other games and DLCs. Great. Pretty good game. I mean, I can't really say that it's a game. I was expecting it to be a game. It really wasn't. It was more of a visual novel, or an immersive visual novel. I'm not really sure how to classify it. But as far as the content, it's good. That was pretty much the story of Dagon. It took us about 50 minutes to get through, whereas, if you were reading it, it probably would have just taken you like 10, 20 minutes. But great visuals. I think at the very beginning they were like, this is a faithful recreation of Dagon, blah, blah, blah. I think that's very accurate. This is, if you've read Dagon, then you understand this is exactly what
what it